In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, there's no drama like college football drama, and the SEC, well, they know how to play right into all of it. The 2026 schedule release was last night on the SEC network. Of course, plenty of storylines. We knew the annual opponents. Most teams also knew their non-conference opponents. Yesterday, they put it all together, giving SEC fans something to root for in 2026 now that the 2025 SEC schedule is now in the books. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Patrick Walsh. Patrick, the SEC, they're kind of following an NFL model, understanding and knowing the drama. They've already said that, hey, we're going to 9 conference games for the first time. And now it's like, okay, what teams do you play when? And once again, the SEC understanding, you know what, let's feed into this the fun of the crowd.
Yeah, the first year that there's going to be 9 conference games, so you can get rid of one of your cupcakes or any of the other ones, but you have to play against another Power 4 team. And, you know, one of those games that you just alluded to, you know, the SEC just trying to beef up the storylines as if this one in particular wasn't already beefed up enough. Lane Kiffin is going to return to Oxford 3 weeks into the regular season. So, I mean, you know, just rip the Band-Aid off, you might as well. But I do really like this, not only because it's early in the season, but the fact that you don't know what these teams are going to be made of, obviously. Going into the year, I believe LSU has the Clemson game, and then Ole Miss has Louisville, but who knows what Louisville is going to look like and Clemson. I mean, we just saw the ACC this year not do great at all. A 7-5 team won the ACC. So, I mean, you're pretty much going to rip the Band-Aid off with SEC play with these two teams, and honestly, it could make or break the season that early, just from a mentality standpoint.
Absolutely, and you have so many components going into it because it's not only, you know, it's not Kiffin just going back to Ole Miss. And we knew that these are annual opponents, so Ole Miss, LSU, we knew they were going to play one another, but I like the fact that the SEC did two things: made it the SEC opener for the teams, and then also made the first trip of LSU going on the road to Ole Miss, and then the opposite in 2027.
Right.
And so I think that the NFL obviously knowing what it's doing, but then there's so many storylines and components going into it, because how many Ole Miss players do we see hit the transfer portal next month and now join LSU, and is there some that go vice versa? What new players are in the game? Obviously, you have Pete Golding against Lane Kiffin. You have I'm sure the ultimatum will get brought up about Lane Kiffin as soon as he left. They'll run those little sound bites from different talking heads saying, if you're not on the plane by the time we know you go. It's so. This to me is just so much. It's like your team didn't play in the. If you're a fan of a team that didn't play in the SEC championship game or going to a bowl or in the college football playoff, you just got reinvigorated for college football all over again just with the schedule release, and I think the height of it right there is in that game.
Yeah, you know, is it next season already? I cannot wait until this next season gets underway, and unfortunately we are a good almost year away. But you know, I think July will be here before we know it.
Oh yeah,
because this is the time of year where it's the transition over to basketball, and the SEC, as we saw last year in basketball, did pretty well for itself, and it looks like this year, I mean, I don't think they'll replicate that exact success, but they'll still have success.
Sure.
I mean, right now, I think if you look at some of the bracketologies that different sports media folks have put out, I believe Vanderbilt and Alabama both have top seeds if the season were to end today. So, I mean, I think it's going to be another great year for the SEC, and then soon, I mean, we're talking right now like, hey, you know, is it next season already? Before we know it, it's going to be April. We're going to be in Indianapolis watching, seeing what goes on there. And then I believe it's like right after that, the next weekend, it's SEC action in baseball.
Yep.
And then it's going to be the College World Series. And then there's that 1 month, that month of June after the College World Series ends, which I'm sure the SEC is going to be there. If not, it's going to be a major talking point in 6 months from now. But there's that 1 month where there's nothing, and then it's SEC Media Days, and then we're right back into it.
Exactly. And I was trying to remember, when does the World Cup start? I mean,
World Cup starts June 16th.
So that's the thing.
Boom, there we go.
every 2 years we have it, whether it's World Cup and or Olympics, where that month is actually filled up with the international event, to whether it's the
not
World
like
Cup
last
this year. Yeah, it's not like last year.
We're just sitting around where it's like, all right, you know what's going on? Somebody make news today. Somebody do something.
Yeah.
You know, I think the golf was the big topic last year. I don't think golf's going to be the big topic this year or this next year.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so if you're a sports fan, your calendar's full.
Your calendar's full. You don't have to
from Christmas all the way to the college football season for next year.
You can apologize to your significant others, but there's no summers off here.
Exactly. So that's Ole Miss LSU to kick off the SEC schedule. But there's plenty of different storylines. Two teams that are in the college football playoff will also meet: Alabama, Texas A&M, and then how about this matchup a little bit later on? Alabama and Georgia, a rematch of the SEC championship game. Georgia finally got their get back. They got the championship game rematch win. Kirby Smart and company did a couple of weeks ago, and then now they get to play each other this time a little bit deeper in the year in October. October 10th is a big one there as well. Yeah,
a little bit deeper into the year, as you mentioned, and then Texas at LSU. Arch Manning returns to his home state of Louisiana. That's assuming that Arch is staying at Texas. I don't think he's going to leave Texas by any means, but you know, crazier things have happened. And then we just talked about one homecoming for Lane Kiffin. LSU at Tennessee, November 21st. He's going to return to Knoxville. You know, I don't think they'll throw golf balls at him this time.
And maybe
mustard. And mustard. You know, I don't know what he would get thrown at this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would be interesting.
They'll do something. I mean, those Tennessee fans, they
rubber snakes.
Oh yeah,
rubber snakes. So if any Tennessee fan wants an idea for November 21st. Just go out. I'm sure they sell them at like your local store. Just go buy a ton of rubber snakes, but don't actually do this because I'm sure you'll get thrown out of the game. Like this is all in good fun unless you get a bunch of people, and then it's like, well, you can't throw us all out.
Right. Exactly. You can't arrest us all. But no, one of the big things about that game being late November that I find interesting is, obviously we're projecting a lot of games when we talk about this, is the fact that could be. If a team has one loss or two losses, let's say both teams come in with that game with two losses, that could be a college football playoff determining game. And if both teams have one loss, it could be who's seeded higher than the other. I expect both teams to have good seasons. I expect Tennessee to return to form. Obviously, yesterday we talked about Coach Jim Knowles returning as going there as a defensive coordinator. Jim Knowles against Lane Kiffin's offense. There's a lot of interesting dynamics, and with it being so deep in the season, it could have college football implications.
Yeah, and another thing about that Texas LSU, as I bring the graphic back up here, these are two former USC guys going at one another.
That's
Steve
right.
Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin. So there are storylines galore along next season, and I can't wait for next season to be here already, even though we still have a playoff to go through.
Right.
But I mean, when you talk about LSU's schedule next year, I think you're glad that you host Texas.
Right.
But you have to go up to Oxford, and that place last year kind of haunted you.
Yep.
Again, it's going to be a new regime, so Lane Kiffin is going to go up against the team that won last year. And then you brought up a good point with the LSU-Tennessee game. That might be a college football playoff game. Those could be two losses right there.
Yes.
Ole Miss and Tennessee, and then you're like, okay, if you're LSU, you can't lose again. And I fully expect Dabo Swinney to have a great team back next year. I think this was a little bit of a down year.
Same.
Clemson started to find it at the end. Maybe they can win that bowl game up in the Bronx in Yankee Stadium
to get some the
Pinstripe Bowl to get some momentum rolling into next year. But I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU made the playoff and was like a top 4 seed. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if LSU missed it.
Yeah, me too. And I feel like when you're in this league, all these games obviously are super important. And we talked a lot about Lane Kiffin and just the way that this team will have to kind of go through the schedule, because that game at Ole Miss, keep in mind that game will also be their first road game as well. They'll play Clemson, but that game's at home. It's the other Death Valley. It's the real Death Valley. And then they'll play La Tech in State before lining up there against Ole Miss. So and for Ole Miss, it'll be their third home game in a row there as well. They'll play 2 tune-up games. They'll play Louisiana, Nashville.
I think it'll be and it'll be
Charlotte.
their second.
Yeah,
because the game in Nashville. But another game that I want to point out here that honestly is kind of interesting is Texas A&M Alabama.
Right.
Because Mike Elko has to replace both of his coordinators after they took other jobs. Some people might be like, well, going from the defensive coordinator position at Texas A&M to Kentucky might seem like a downgrade, but you got to remember this year Mike Elko took over the play calling on the defense.
Right.
So maybe it isn't really that much of a downgrade. But again, we just talked about this yesterday. Who knows if that guy right there is going to be at Alabama next year? I mean, point. It was the Penn State talk didn't make any sense to me. This one actually kind of does, because no offense to Penn Staters, the Michigan is a little bit of a better brand than you.
A little bit.
And I kind of made what could be a crazy take yesterday, in that Michigan's a better job than Alabama, and Alabama.
And I wanted you to clarify that, because are you talking from the path to the college football playoff just because the Big Ten is more top heavy?
That's one piece. Mm-hmm. And I think the donors around the Michigan program are better than the Alabama program.
Oh, so okay.
So money, Michigan wins. I mean, you look at, Dave Portnoy is one of the biggest examples of a donor to Michigan. I think Nick Saban kind of revitalized this Alabama program and brought it up to speed.
Yeah.
But I think Michigan's path to the playoff is a lot easier than Alabama's path to the playoff is.
Yeah.
Because you look top to bottom in the Big Ten, it does not compare to the SEC. You got to go through so many different teams.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that the Michigan job the Michigan job as it relates to the bounce back, the effect to be able to get into the college football playoff, what you have to go through is better than Alabama's. I think Alabama's obviously from a prestige and historical standpoint, I think they're probably on par, but Alabama with Nick Saban having the more recent success, you just think of Alabama as the better job, obviously. And so this is going to be interesting, because for the first time in, I think, since all this started, I am now like, at first I said, okay, no way he leaves. No way he leaves for Penn State. This is the first one I'm entertaining. Like, I could see it happening. I could see it happening, and it's not for all these, excuse my language, stupid reasons that a lot of people think of, because the pressure's too much. You wouldn't follow Nick Saban if you were scared or intimidated by pressure.
Exactly.
You wouldn't follow the greatest if you didn't think that you could win a national championship. But I do think, like you were talking about, from a money perspective, the Michigan donor pile is a lot steeper, so to speak.
I mean, it was rumored that Bryce Underwood got $10 million to go to Michigan, and they yanked him away from LSU.
Yeah, and I know Portnoy is a big one, but I think the Ellison family is big as well. I think they have like 2 or 3 different billionaires that, for them, cutting a couple $1 million check is rounding error for them. I think that it'll be interesting to see if what's around the Michigan program is enough to entice him.
They are going to make him have to say no. Like, there's just no other way. I said this yesterday. Michigan cannot afford to take a gamble on a guy that's never been a head coach before. So you know they're going to pay the buyout of one of these coaches from these schools. So the name Matt Campbell keeps getting thrown around, and could you just imagine?
Has the ink even dried on his Penn State contract?
No, I don't think so. I think it's still being written right now. Could you imagine? I mean, I'd feel so bad for all of those Penn Staters.
He could do what Bill Belichick did with the Jets. Just like you commit to the Jets, and then even before the first game, you just resign on a napkin. You're just like, I'm sorry, I'm leaving New York. I'm going to New England. Boom. That's what Matt Campbell can do before heading off to Michigan. There's still a lot to be discussed there. Obviously, we'll talk Vanderbilt with our first guest coming up. Is in Julian Minnesome. But last year we brought up the schedule, and Julian said it. Hey, this is a team that can make it happen. We'll ask him about the 2026 schedule coming up next. We also have Scott Griffin, who has a lot of Bama stuff to cover, because obviously the football team will play in the college football playoffs next week, but the basketball team will host
a big one,
the #1 team in the country right there in the city of Birmingham. We'll also talk with Noah Gross about the Texas Longhorns, talk some hoops. Also, his alma mater's playing one of the best teams in college basketball right now this weekend. We'll ask him about those Maryland Terrapins as well. Talk more about the schedule release coming up on today's show. Pavia headed to the Big Apple. Can he bring back the Heisman Trophy? Alabama men's basketball, can they play spoiler against the top team in the country? Texas and UConn, two big brands on the hardwood as well. We'll talk that and so much more. A loaded show. Sit back and enjoy it right here on Southeast Sports Plus. We continue going Nashville after the break. Welcome back here on Southeast Sports Plus. As we sit here on December 12th, Patrick, I have to say, I always give kudos when they're due, especially on this show. I give Courtney Mims out of Arkansas. She's like, hey, Arkansas is going to beat Louisville. I think so. And our first guest is Julian Minnesone. And as we sit here now on December 12th, I think Simone should be doing this as well. Our very own Simone Eli, talking about this Vanderbilt team. Now that all the hay's in the barn, so to speak, Julian's the one that said it on the front end. Like, hey, this schedule is daunting, but this is a team that actually believes that they can do it. There's coach now. We know that Vandy's headed to the ReliaQuest Bowl. It's the first time talking to you, I think, since the season ended. Now that the season's all over, now they're preparing for this bowl. Can you put a bow on what you saw here in 2025 and all the fun that came with it?
Yeah, if I were to give a grade, it would be an A. You not only have the best player in program history is one of the 4 Heisman finalists, but you had your best season in program history, first 10-win season in program history. Of course, they would love to be in the college football playoff discussion, and we've talked about that on this show. Brand recognition is everything, and obviously Vanderbilt had their chances against Texas and Alabama that they could not pass, but I still think a season certainly to keep their heads high. Obviously, you not only were able to get a postseason opportunity at the ReliaQuest Bowl, which should be a good game against Iowa, but you were able to springboard into next season and prove that this is not a fluke. The big question was, of course, what they're going to do after Diego Pavia is gone, and they were able to get arguably the best one in the country in Gerhard Curtis, and flip him from Georgia. And so you are set for years to come, on top of Clark Lee signing that extension as well. And so Vanderbilt's arrived, and I think that was the big thing going into this season, no matter what the end of the outcome was going to be, is proving that last year wasn't a fluke, continuing to build, and hoping to be a mainstay at the top of the SEC for years to come.
Julian, let's talk about this weekend, because as you mentioned, Diego Pavia is a Heisman finalist, and it will be revealed tomorrow night. When we talked with your sports director, Corey Curtis, on Monday, he believes that Diego Pavia is going to get the most first-place votes, but will not actually win the Heisman. I wanted to get your take on if you think he could actually win the Heisman.
I certainly think there is a chance, but I'll probably echo his sentiment a little bit, Corey's sentiment, in the sense that for as many people that there are that love Diego Pavia and what he brings to college football, there's also a sector of the fan base of college sports that maybe are turned off by him when it comes to how polarizing he is, how confident or cocky, I guess you could say, he is, depending on where you fall on that side of the fence. So I certainly could see him winning it, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he, was second or third on that list either. Look, I'm not a Heisman voter, but if I had a vote, it would go to him. And taking aside from the fact that I cover this guy and covered this team for the last year plus, there is nobody on that list of Heisman finalists who've had to do more with less than him.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, look at the kind of season that they've had and the season that Pavia has put together just to even be in the conversation of a playoff picture, and they still didn't get in. If I'll say this, if he was the quarterback of Ohio State or Notre Dame or Indiana, they'd probably have an equivalent or even maybe a better season. Yeah. If you put Mendoza or Sayin on Vanderbilt, are they having the best season in program history? You'd have to really convince me otherwise, because I don't think that's the case. So not only do I think Pavia is the best player in college football just because of what he has to do week in and week out, I think he's also the most valuable, not just on the field, but off the field as well. I know the Heisman voters don't necessarily care about cultural fit and what they do for a program, but Pavia has put Vanderbilt on the map to the point where they got another 5-star coming in, and I don't think they flip Gerhard Curtis if Pavia doesn't have a hand in it and say, hey, you could be like this guy here in Nashville.
Well, Julian, I'll say this. I know we didn't really get to see Julian Sayin before this year, but we did get to see Fernando Mendoza, who is, for some reason, I guess just because of his go route, go ball at the end of the Big Ten championship. We got to see a season of him on a team not like Indiana, not like Ohio State, over at Cal last year. And I mean, I never thought he was amazing. And this is no disrespect on Vanderbilt or anything, but I feel like the resources around Cal and what Mendoza had to deal with last year is kind of like what Diego Pavia had to deal with this year. Now, Cal didn't have an Eli Stowers or anything like that, but I still think we've seen a year of Fernando Mendoza on a team where he could have had a Diego Pavia-like season, and he didn't.
No, that's completely correct. And look, that Big Ten championship game this year was very hard fought. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. And it was from an entertainment value, it was great just because it was close. But I didn't come away from that game saying either one of those guys is like clear cut the best player in the country. Right. And if we're really talking about the Heisman as a body of work for this season, I don't think Mendoza gets the Heisman off of one throw to the sideline he had to make that the other two quarterbacks probably could have made in any given scenario. I didn't come away from that saying that he is the overwhelming favorite. Now, what they've done at Indiana is awesome, right? Like they are clearly the number one seed in the playoff for a reason. But when you talk about the body of work and what not only Pavia impacting the game with his arm, with his feet, and just to get even Vanderbilt in the conversation to where the college football playoff committee says, oh, get out of here, like you are the pest. Like that's a testament to what Diego Pavia has had to do. So it's funny, he was here in Nashville couple days ago. He was at Dick's Sporting Goods holding a Special Olympics shopping spree for athletes. Cool. And we talked to him there, and he said, yeah, I'm excited to go to the Heisman ceremony. I'm finishing up, putting the final touches on my Heisman speech. So he's already got it in his mind that
he's on
gonna,
brand.
Yeah, I mean it's what you love about college football. I asked Reese Davis when they were here for College Game Day a couple weeks ago for the Missouri game, and I said, is Diego Pavia like everything? Like, is he college football in a nutshell, basically? And Reese Davis says, yeah, like the zero to hero story. He's kind of like the swashbuckler, the Captain Jack Sparrow of college football. The pride he takes in taking a maybe a bottom dweller program to the top. I mean, the story is everything you want. I just think that when it comes down to it in that vote for the Heisman ceremony tomorrow, maybe people aren't putting that into consideration when they're doing their ballots. So I hope it does, but we'll see.
Yeah, final Pavia question for you, but this is actually springing forward to his NFL prospects. He's got one game left against a really good defense in Iowa coming up this week, and then he's got the Senior Bowl coming up later next month. What can he show over the next maybe 1 to 2 months on the football field, and then beyond that over the next 3 to 4 months in interviews and whatnot, to show that he is an NFL quarterback? I think that his comp reminds me a little bit of Baker Mayfield, a little Johnny Manziel. Both those guys able to parlay that into being first-round picks. We've seen how their careers have gone. But what do you think Pavia can do between now, the ReliaQuest Bowl, the Senior Bowl, and beyond?
Sure. Yeah. Iowa is kind of like the perfect matchup to have one last exclamation point on a great college career, because like you mentioned, they're going to want to make this a rock fight, and Vanderbilt is going to want to go up and down the field. So if Diego Pavia obviously has a great performance there in the ReliaQuest Bowl, and then in the Senior Bowl as well, you could certainly springboard that into getting interviews and camp invites and all that stuff. I wouldn't put it past, knowing how determined this guy is and how he just is not going to take no for an answer, that he doesn't find himself, even at the very least, on a practice squad somewhere. I think he could certainly add value. Heck, I look at the Titans right now, and I'm like, I'd love to have Diego Pavia on the practice squad, being an absolute pest, because when you're a practice squad quarterback, let's say, for example, you are a lot of times going to be the dummy quarterback for that other team, and he not only can throw, but he can run, and be perfect for that in practice for an NFL team. So it's so funny, because after one of the performances he had this year, somebody was in my mention saying he'd be great on the Birmingham Squadron or whatever.
Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah,
Stallions. Yeah, I've seen enough. He is the perfect quarterback for that. But all jokes aside, I certainly could see him kind of willing his way onto an NFL roster. That's for sure.
Julian, last football question before we move it over to the basketball team. With the SEC releasing the schedule yesterday, what did you make of that schedule? And because I think what Clark Lee is going to do is he's probably going to start Gerhard Curtis right away next year. How do you think that fares for his development?
Well, welcome to the SEC, Gerhard Curtis. That's all I got to say. Because, I do think the non-conference schedule is manageable. Obviously, yes. NC State is the big one, but they're all home games, right? But you got to go to Auburn, which is going to be tough. You got to go to Georgia, and you didn't have to play them this year. And then the saving grace is that you do get Alabama and Tennessee both at home. And as we've seen, anything can happen when you play either of those teams over the last couple years. Now, I agree with you. I think Gerhard Curtis, you don't bring him in not to be a starter. Right. However, I would expect them to maybe delve into the portal and maybe get a veteran QB as a backup, because you're going to have it just in case, because there's no sure thing, even with a 5-star
Just look at Syracuse this year.
Yeah.
Right. There's no surefire bet that he is going to be ready right away. However, I will say that Austin Peay and Delaware game are perfect games to maybe throw a young quarterback in there, throw stuff at the wall, and see what sticks. Now, we've seen Gerhard Curtis here as a Nashville kid, obviously, and the guy reminds me of like a Josh Allen, Matt Stafford in high school.
Wow.
I mean, the kid is great size, can run, unbelievable arm, and has different arm angles as well, which, as we saw, helped out Diego Pavia in that weird kind of offense that they like to run, where he uses his feet and his arm. But it's going to be tough, because you have Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, all on the schedule, and some of those games are away. So there's certainly going to be growing pains. But I do see if he pans out and if he's as good as we think he is going to be, there is certainly a path for 6 wins there and a bowl game opportunity.
Well, and I think there's definitely a prove-it game in Athens because, you know, he just flipped from Georgia. So, he's going to want to be like, this is why I flipped right here.
Juicy. Absolutely juicy, that's for sure, because he's gonna feel the wrath of the dog fans in that game. That's for sure, assuming he is the starter.
What's the saying? Kirby Smart schedules the teams that
where players go. Yeah,
I mean, this was kind of handed to him. But.
Exactly. Flipping over to basketball, this is a Vanderbilt men's basketball program that is absolutely on a surge. I don't know if a lot of people saw this out of the gate, but still undefeated overall, a top 15 team now. Central Arkansas is the next team up, I believe, coming up this weekend. But 9-10 games into this thing, what's your take here on the Commodores?
Guys, I sat on this show when we kind of previewed the basketball season a couple weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. And I said that Vanderbilt, I think they're going to have a good season, but it might take a little bit for them to get it together, and it might take a couple really bad non-conference losses just because there's so many new faces gelling together. I was completely wrong about that. I mean, this team looks like they've been playing together for years. And it was exemplified in that SMU game. I mean, the job that Mark Byington has done to get these guys playing together and meshing chemistry-wise right away is amazing. You had to replace Jason Edwards from last season, who was your leading scorer. And it seems that Tyler Tanner is not just one of the best-kept secrets in the SEC. He's arrived.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude had 26 points this past week against SMU. And so you have a guy that now is proven he can have the ball in his hand at the end of games. You got bigger in the offseason by getting guys with a lot of size. And I think something to keep in mind here when you're looking at Vanderbilt down the line through the SEC schedule, potentially being an NCAA tournament team, what Mark Byington did wasn't saying, hey, let's replenish what we lost last year. Mm-hmm. Let's make a team that not just gets through the SEC schedule, but let's make a team that is built to get through March Madness.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Last year they played St. Mary's, and St. Mary's makes that game ugly. They're long. They really make you grind it out. So what did he do this offseason? Got big, tall dudes who are able to combat that physical style of play.
And then they played them again.
Yes, that's right. And you saw the result. Like what gets through teams in March last year, what got Florida all the way there? They had a dude in Walter Clayton, and they had some big dudes up front. Yeah. And Vanderbilt's got a dude in Tyler Tanner and big dudes up front. So we'll see how it plays out the rest of the way. But this certainly is a better expected start than I had for this team. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And before we go, let's talk some hoops here. I'm sorry, not hoops. We'll talk some NFL here with the Tennessee Titans. We were talking during the break, and I was asking you about your week, and I was just like listening to you, and the inflection in your voice when you said the Titans got to win. I was like, you know what? I could use it, and I'm right there with you. Now that the Titans did get a win, a really I think impressive win over a Cleveland Browns team that's been finding a little something with Shedeur Sanders. What'd you make of Cam Ward and company coming away with the dub?
Well, I had to look outside if there was a blue moon or pigs were flying because I was like, man, this team has had a rough go of it, and they needed it, guys. I know there's a sector of the fan base here that wants them to continue to lose to get a number one pick, right? Mm-hmm. And I totally understand that. But I don't think they need a better draft pick. They need to pick better, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The Eagles and Chiefs didn't get to where they are by picking number one every single year. Right. And when it comes to a very young team, including Cam Ward right in the middle of that rookie class, it would be an absolute failure if they went through their entire season, his first rookie season here, with just one win. There's a lot to be said about young guys learning how to win in this league, and Cam didn't necessarily have his best game. He'll tell you that, but I think the fact that they were able to grind one out and basically be ahead for most of that game and learn how to win that way, I certainly think it'll pay dividends down the line. Now, if they beat San Francisco this weekend, I'm expecting them to win out because that's just the end. That's just how it's going to go. But I certainly think it was a step in the right direction, and this team is playing better than they were maybe a month ago.
Well, I will say this: I feel like with what the Titans have shown this year, I would expect the progression from Cam Ward as a #1 overall pick to that of Bryce Young's, because Bryce Young was thrown into pretty much a similar situation over in Carolina where it was just a dumpster fire, and they were just trying to find some way to get back to that season that Cam Newton had, and it hasn't gone well since then. But it took Bryce Young a few years to figure it out, and I mean, goodness, I can't believe we're actually saying this, but the Panthers might make the playoffs and win the South.
Yeah.
Like, it's just shocking, but I think that could be something that we could grow to expect out of Cam Ward, because, I mean, you can't really throw him, no offense to the Titans by any means, you can't really throw anybody in that situation and expect greatness.
Yeah, would Jackson Dart be as good with this roster?
Right.
Probably not. Right? I mean, and that's where Jaden Daniels kind of ruined it for a lot of people. I mean, everybody was like, hey, we need one of those. We need a CJ Stroud. We need one of those guys to come on the scene and make an impact right away. And unfortunately, the Titans roster as a whole is not in a spot where Cam Ward is able to do that. However, I covered Cam at Washington State. I watched him closely at Miami. I mean, when you get this guy some weapons, he is proven to have really – I mean, Miami had the best offense in college football last year, and that was when Cam Ward had a bunch of weapons around him. So I think if they get the right head coach in there, that's #1. They draft really well and continue to do so because this rookie class is great. I think you could see that turn around by the time that new stadium opens. And it's not like the AFC South is filled with world beaters either. I mean, it's been the worst division in football, collectively over the last couple of years. So it's not like the margins are like that wide to potentially win that division.
Absolutely. And the Titans, are they back at home this week? Who do they have this week? They
got the Niners this week.
No, that's right. They're in San Fran. Going back to your home
tough.
state. Going back to Cali. Julian, thank you so much for joining us here on Southeast Sports Plus today.
Of course, guys. Anytime. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely. Julian Minnesone out of California, Southern California, and covering these Tennessee Titans, and a really good college quarterback and a really good professional quarterback if he gets some weapons around him there as well.
Yeah.
And a good basketball team.
A great basketball team, and things are just gonna get better there in Nashville, because obviously the basketball team's off to a hot start, and you're gonna get a good baseball team under Tim Corbin.
Yeah, that is a guarantee.
That's the one guarantee right there.
Guarantee every single year. The #1 team in college basketball is headed to Birmingham. We're headed to the Magic City next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus. We were just talking with Julian Minnesone about the Tennessee Titans. We will stay there in the AFC South, because an interesting development that has captivated all of football is 44-year-old grandfather Philip Rivers is headed back to the NFL. Of course, we here in Mobile have a special connection with this story because the team he coaches is right down the road from where we sit right here in Mobile over in Fairhope. And as fate would have it, their potential starting quarterback would also have been a guy from Fairhope in Riley Leonard, who of course led Notre Dame to the college football playoff and the championship game yesterday. But let's stick with Phillip Rivers because I think a lot of people are scratching their heads about this entire story and how he's starting, but it looks like he is trending, crazy as it sounds, to start in Seattle Sunday.
I mean, I don't know what to say anymore at this point because it was kind of a joke to begin with, but it was actually for real. I believe when Ian Rappaport said it, he said this is not a joke. When he tweeted this out, this is not a joke. This is actually going to happen. And he probably wouldn't have been my first pick out of the retired quarterbacks to call, but I mean Shane Steichen has worked with him for many years back when the Chargers were still in San Diego, and he's been running the Colts offense all year. So I mean the one thing you question at this point is how many hits can he take from a Seattle defense that has been demonstrative to quarterbacks this year, right? And the last time I checked, the line was 13.5.
13.5. I just looked down at my screen just to make sure that it hadn't changed. It is 13.5 still. I have a different take on this, and when it first hit me, I was aligned with you and a lot of what the talking points were going to be about. You know, he's an old guy thrown out there. This almost reminds me. I heard this. I think it was Colin Cowherd said it earlier today, but I have thought about this in the last 2 days, even before I heard it said out loud. He just kind of verbalized my thoughts that. It feels like when everybody is like, this is a guaranteed lock in the NFL. This is a guaranteed win. How in the world is this line this number? Yeah. And it feels like there's so much doom and gloom around this. I want to almost take the opposite stance because he knows Shane Steichen. You just mentioned it. He has known Shane Steichen for a really long time. And even when Phillip Rivers was at his peak, he wasn't the most elusive guy. And people kept talking about guys like Cam Newton and whatnot. Cam Newton's his superpower was his athleticism. And the reason why he's not in the league anymore is because he lost it. Why? Because he took a bunch of hits. Yes. I just don't think that we're going to see a situation where Phillip Rivers is going to be put in the position to take a lot of hits. They have one of the best, if not the best running back in football. He can hand it off 30 times a game. He has also been running this offense for the last 3 years or 4 years at his high school with his son, their quarterback. So he is ingrained in what this offense brings. So, I just feel like if you go and hand it off on first down and you're able to pick 4 or 5 yards, and you're facing 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, he knows, hey, you call this play, you see this defense, quick hit here. I feel like from a decision-making standpoint, he's going to be in such a good place. Everybody is seeing a disaster that for some reason I'm like, I don't see it being as such. I'm not saying he's throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
No, that's not going to happen.
I'm just saying
that line's probably got to be plus 10,000.
Oh yeah, the money line. Oh yeah, for
that prop has to just be out of this world, and someone's going to take that. But I think the game plan has to be just keep Seattle on their toes because you can expect the run probably 3 out of every 4 times. Yes, because I mean you just can't,
especially on first downs.
Yeah, on first downs, just try to get a few yards there, make it 2nd and manageable, and just these quick hitters, quick out routes, just keep them on their toes. And then Phillip Rivers maybe a few times where he gets to show off the 44-year-old cannon, right? Go deep to Michael Pittman or something like that. But I would expect Jonathan Taylor to get a boatload of carries, but you just have to be able to keep them on their toes because if you just expect the run. Or if you just run it every time and the pass game isn't working, they're just going to stack the box and then it's just over. Right. But here's what I think. Yeah. If he makes it through the first quarter, then I think he's going to be fine.
I think so,
It's just the first quarter and those first couple hits that he takes. It's going to be, boy.
I'm going to the site that I go to for the prop bets to find out what his prop is because
we need to know.
I'm going to look this up. Shout out to Action Sports. Is where I go for the props. Anytime score for him is plus 2,000, which is it's just not crazy. Passing yards. Let me see here. The passing yards as it relates right now, it looks like at one of the popular sports books. And I was going to throw out.
Is it under triple digits?
It's no, it's over triple digits. It's over triple digits. Gosh, I want to take this right now. It's $1.50. 150.5. If I gave you the stat line, let's just say I gave you the stat line that he finishes 17 of 24.
Yep.
With 175, 180 yards and 1 touchdown. That doesn't sound crazy to me, and that doesn't sound like that sounds very feasible, and it sounds like it was playing his hands. Will that be enough to win? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Will it be enough to cover? Possibly.
Yeah.
Especially if they're running the ball really well. And this prop sits right at a place where I'm like, hey, I'm on a fire on it. Plus, it's 150. Over under is 150 and a half. As you said, if he gets out of the first quarter, I just don't think it's crazy.
I don't want to be like a negative Nelly or anything. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
If this was Phillip Rivers on the Eagles, I could definitely see that happening because I think
weapons.
Just with the weapons.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, what? You've got Michael Pittman, and then who are the other receivers on the Colts? I just don't trust them to get the separation needed.
Right.
Because, I mean, you've got to help this guy out.
Yeah.
Because he's been out the league since 2020. It's going to be 1,800 days by the time he takes his first snap since the AFC wildcard game back in 2020. You can't just expect Unk to just roll off the bus, so to speak, for sitting on the bench for 5 years.
Yeah.
And just be like, yeah, he's still got it. And he just unloads a cannon, 60-yard touchdown on the first play.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually a more interesting prop. It's the receiving yards and or production for these guys.
Okay.
They have Michael Pittman. The over-under number is 33 yards.
Yeah.
For Tyler Warren, the over-under number is also 33 yards.
Okay.
Wait,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure.
You want to know something funny that I heard?
What's that?
Tyler Warren is listed as QB2 this weekend.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Oh my goodness.
Tyler Warren is the backup quarterback right now for the Indianapolis Colts. What?
Did he play like quarterback in high school or something?
I don't know. I don't think he ever played at Penn State.
I don't know if I've seen a level of. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because while I'm saying that Phillip Rivers can have a decent game, I'm also saying how desperate is this franchise? Because they're 8-5 right now. They're knocking on the door of being able to get into the playoffs.
This should have been a surefire AFC South victory. They should have won the title this year.
Yep.
And now they're in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time as an 8-2, as a team that was at one point 8-2. So
yeah,
I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Alec Pierce over under 28 yards.
Alec Pierce. What's JT's?
JT
I don't know if JT's really a big threat in the pass game.
13 and a half over under
really
is his number, but his rushing number, which might be more interesting and tells a little bit of the game plan. 75 and a half, which actually feels like they'll have to rely on him a lot more.
Yeah.
Unless
I'm going to rely on him because this is fantasy playoffs. Yeah.
Unless the only thing I could think of is if the defensive game plan for Mike McDonald and the Seahawks is to just stack the box and just say, hey, Jonathan Taylor's not beating us. You put 9 hats in the box.
I mean, that's what I would do.
And make Phillip Rivers beat you.
If a 44-year-old quarterback still got it, and he just goes out there and slings it like he never left, like his good old prime days.
Yeah.
Soon we're gonna have Phillip Rivers edits to Jason Aldean, just because that's the new trend with all the SEC quarterbacks from the 2010s.
Right.
If that would be my game plan, just let the guy beat.
Let him cook.
If he beats you. He beats you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great storyline, except you're going to get made fun of because it's like, how'd you let a 44-year-old roll off the bench and just all of a sudden light it up against you?
Could come from the sidelines of the high school semifinals in Alabama and then roll 3,000 miles across the country and come over there and beat you inside and outside of the huddle there. We'll see how it all shakes out on Sunday as we were actively game planning our prop bets for the upcoming weekend. We will talk more and close up hour number 1 here at Southeast Sports Plus next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus. It is a really interesting week in college basketball. I think you pointed out to me yesterday that I think of all the SEC all the games featuring SEC teams that are on the slate this week, most, if not all of them, are neutral site games.
I want to say there's going to be 12 games tomorrow. I don't really count tonight's game, Texas UConn, as like a neutral site game because it seems like UConn plays a lot of their games in Hartford nowadays. But 9 of the 12 SEC games tomorrow are either in NBA arenas or in Birmingham, as this one that we're going to talk about right now. Tide and the Wildcats.
Number 1 team in the nation, ready to go to the Magic City in Birmingham, Alabama for the CM Newton Classic. This is just another big game for Alabama and a stretch of unbelievable games for the Crimson Tide against top 10 opponents at the time when they were facing these opponents, several in the top 10. That includes Purdue, who was number 1 at the time of their meeting, Arizona, who's now also number 1 at the time of their meeting. St. John's was a number 5 team when those two teams met on the court. Illinois was also a top 15 team or top 10 team. Gonzaga was a top 15 team there as well. So once again, just another brick in a crazy foundation for this season. But through it all, Bama 7-2 and ready to take on the probably, if not maybe the second best freshman so far this season outside of Cam Boozer.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this resume that Alabama has kind of put together right now, I would make the argument if they were to win this game, they'd easily have the best resume of any two-loss team in the country. They should be vaulted up into the top 5. It's just so hard right now because you've got a few of those undefeated teams in Duke, Arizona, and Michigan. I still think Michigan's far and away the best team in college basketball right now, followed by Arizona, followed by Duke. So, I mean, this is going to be a good one in the CM Newton Classic tomorrow over in Birmingham. But, I mean, we talked about it a little bit the other day. Koa Pete is probably going to be a lottery pick when this is all said and done here this season. And, I mean, he's just been a one-man wrecking crew for the Wildcats. He had that big game against Florida to open up the year, and that kind of put himself on the map. This is a great forward for Arizona. And you brought up a good point the other day because these two teams play with such different play styles. I think you said Alabama shot 63s.
54
three-pointers.
54
against
three-pointers.
UTSA the other day. And Arizona is more of the, 2 points here, 2 points there, 2 points here. And it's just so consistent.
In fact, they are, I think, bottom of the
I don't think they shoot the NCAA threes like at all.
Yes, bottom of the NCAA as far as season totals for three-pointer shot. Because I'm actually going to pull this up because it's actually so crazy how many threes they have taken in comparison to their opponents. They have taken 128 three-pointers all season long. I'll pull you up Alabama's here in just 1 second because I know it doubles it, and it might be even more than doubles it. So 128 for Arizona, 325 through 9 games for Alabama. It's triple.
I mean, it's like in football, it's like, well, he's got to be down there somewhere. Just chuck it up and just pray. And then in this one, it's like, well, if we take 300, then at least 100 have to go in.
LeBaron Philon, who's the reigning SEC Player of the Week this week, has 193 points off three-pointers, 47 taken for the season. Aiden Holloway, 49 for the season. Their starting 5 probably matches and or beats the attempts that Arizona has for the entire year. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy.
We talked about it. Alabama runs that NBA style offense.
Run and gun.
And let me tell you, LeBaron Philon, that sounds like a guy that's going to play on the Lakers next year. Yeah. If he's just going to jack up a bunch of threes. I mean, goodness.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And Nate Oates made the joke not that long ago. He was saying that we have probably taken more three-pointers by the second media timeout than Arizona will take in the entire game.
Yeah.
And so they play into this. They play into it, understanding it's a make or miss game. But the thing is, and you pointed this out, anytime that you have a three-point shot that is well developed, you're never out of a game.
Right.
So that's the thing too. So even if you're not making them, you don't get blown out. That's what you see on the other side is that, hey, teams that like to just ground and pound, hey, the one thing is if you play a 3-point team and they're making their threes, you can get run out the gym very quickly.
Well, let me just say this. I grew up a big Syracuse fan, and one of the big things that Syracuse was known for back in the day was the zone defense under Jim Boeheim.
Boeheim, yeah.
And one of the things that got Boeheim pretty much out of college basketball is just basically the resurgence or the coming up of the 3-point shot. And all teams would do every game is shoot threes. Like I think everyone would have career nights against Syracuse towards the end of Jim Boeheim's tenure over in Syracuse, New York, because everyone would just hit a bunch of threes. I don't even want to know how many points this Alabama team would put up against a Syracuse team from a few years ago in Jim Boeheim's final season, but they would probably shoot 70. I honestly think, because with zone defense, you guard the paint, you don't let anyone in, and you just you basically invite them to shoot threes. And that's exactly what Alabama does.
And I wonder if obviously when Boeheim, made that the staple of his defense, yes, he wanted it to be, hey, this is what we do, but I don't think he saw the explosion that was coming with the 3-point shot, heightened by Alabama and what they've been able to do so far this season. We'll see how that happens over at the BJCC, Arizona and Alabama. Hour number 2 of Southeast Sports Plus continues after the break.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
One of my favorite days on the college football calendar is the day that most of the college football world is silent, and we have one game to watch and not only enjoy the game, but also enjoy what they represent to our country. It is Army, Navy once again. This year it is in Baltimore, Maryland. Navy won last year's matchup back here on Southeast Sports. Plus, Army Navy to me is always just a really fun game. Yeah. But also, too, it just reminds you of everything that is amazing about this country. And it reminds you of the people that are going to fight for this nation. And you get to watch them play football. And it's high-level football because both teams, year in and year out, have really solid football teams there as well. And we're able to put all that on display there in the Commanders. Is the trophy, Commander-in-Chief Cup. Yep.
Yes. I think this is the one football game a year in college football where it's not so much that you're a fan of either team, but you still watch anyways because it's just such a tradition. Week 16 every year. I do find it interesting. You brought up a great point before we came on today. Usually it is the only college football game.
It's the standalone game. Typically the only other game is usually the FCS playoff games. Yeah. But they still kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah, but I do believe we have a couple bowl games. The Cricket Celebration Bowl will be played on December 13th.
Right.
And I do believe we actually have another bowl game. I believe Washington is.
It's Washington and Boise State.
Yes, so I don't remember the last time that Army-Navy also was – or it was not the only game on.
Right, right. And it didn't have to share the slate with somebody else. Right. And the good thing about the bowl game, though, is it played earlier. So it will have its own platform. It's the 2 o'clock game on CBS, the Army-Navy game. But in the bowl games are at night. The Celebration Bowl, I'll go back and look up what time that is. But the Boise State-Washington game in the LA Bowl over in SoFi, that is a 7 o'clock kickoff Central Time. So the Army-Navy game will not be overshadowed by a bowl game. And honestly, I don't think it would be anyways. No. You brought up a great point just a minute ago, and I wanted to tack onto it because it's either, like you said, you're kind of a neutral fan. It's one of the polar opposite games. You're a neutral fan. You're kind of rooting for both teams. You want to see good football because you love both of the service academies. Or you're an Army guy or you're a Navy guy or girl, and you literally like, hey, go Army, beat Navy. Like you're all in on one side or the other. I just find it really interesting how that pendulum swings a bit. Like I just remember Bill Belichick, his dad coached at the Navy, so he would get some Navy guys on his practice squad and stuff like that, and he would always hey, go Navy, beat Army. And there's guys on the opposite side of that too. Mike Krzyzewski comes to mind, and a few others.
Yeah, and my fiance's sister served in the Navy,
awesome,
so and her husband is currently in the Navy right now as an electrician. So I don't want to take bias on one side, but if I had to say, I have some good connections, obviously with people that have served in the Navy, and I gotta watch what I say around them tomorrow.
Yeah,
because,
of course.
You don't want to say like beat Navy or anything,
right?
Because then they'll be like, oh well, I thought I knew you, because I mean it's that serious for them.
Yeah.
And my favorite. When I would watch this game, my favorite is just always the cadets and the midshipmen in the stands, going crazy, because this is just so much fun for them to be able to watch, and this is one of the games that they look forward to every year. Obviously, Navy played Notre Dame earlier this year, and I don't believe they covered that game. I no, because remember we talked about it and we were like, I think Navy's gonna cover, but it didn't happen.
Right.
But looking at the Navy side, this guy, Blake Horvath, has been a one-man wrecking crew for them for the last 2 years. As you can see on the bottom there, 1,000+ pass and rush yards. This isn't the first season he's done that. He did that last year as well, and he had 2 big touchdown runs against Army in 2024. I'm going to make a wild statement here.
Okay.
And you can clown me all you want. Blake Horvath is the Lamar Jackson of the G5.
Oh, okay.
Because
I'm not gonna make fun of that.
He doesn't throw it that much,
right?
But when he does, he's pretty lefful, other than the 5 interceptions. But I mean, he just does so much on the ground game. Now, I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson. Like, please hear me out. Like, I'm not saying he's gonna be the next Lamar Jackson. But at the level that he plays at, in the Group of 5 level against other service academies, I could actually make the comparison that he kind of sticks out as a Lamar Jackson-esque player.
Yeah, no, and you definitely can, and those numbers kind of show it, just how dangerous he is with his legs. And it's like, hey, he's probably the best athlete on the field at most times, and so hey, continue to give it to him. But you mentioned it, Navy, a really good season overall. I think they were ranked for a large part of the season in the AP poll. Finished up with 2 losses with North Texas and to Notre Dame, obviously. And so it should be a really fun and interesting Army-Navy game there once again. And then it'll tee up Navy's game against Cincinnati coming up in the postseason.
Yeah, and I honestly, for a minute, we were talking about Navy potentially being in the college football playoff.
Yes.
Because they were atop the American.
Yep.
But, when Tulane got their second loss, it kind of shocked some people.
Right.
And it was like, all right, Tulane's out. And then it's Memphis' turn. And then Memphis lost, and it's like, okay, who do we talk about now?
Right.
The 2 teams that didn't get talked about were Navy and then also North Texas. But we saw how it panned out. North Texas, unfortunately, for my sake, I was rooting for them. I was rooting for the Mean Green, but the Green Wave in the battle of the mascots and for the American ended up winning. But Navy is definitely no slouch, and I would expect this one to be another great game. I know Army isn't really having the best of years, but this is kind of a retooling year. I believe they went 12-2 last year.
Right, they went 12-2 a year ago, and then they're 6-5 as they enter this game. They're 4-4 in the American. Meanwhile, Navy is 9-2 on the season. Only lost that 1 game in the regular season in conference play. The game opened at 4.5. Of course, that was Navy a 4.5-point favorite. That is, and then it quickly has jumped up to 7. So Navy is now a touchdown favorite over Army. 38.5 is the over/under in that game. And I'm trying to find an AccuWeather. I always try to find the weather, because it always feels like this is the one game I feel like it's always cold. Yeah, like super cold.
I'll tell you this. My fiance is from Southern Maryland, and I've been there a few times at this point in the year, and it's not really pleasant outside. It's either super windy, raining, not usually snow at this time of year. It doesn't actually snow down there too much, but it's usually just dreary rain. It's probably going to be in the 30s, just nastiness. But I mean, that's exactly what college football is all about. We talked last week about snow games and stuff like that. There might be a snow game in Norman potentially next weekend. Who knows about that? But this is going to be one of those good old-fashioned, like Julian said earlier about Iowa and how they want to turn this into a rock fight. That's exactly what Navy and Army want to do.
That's exactly right. We heard from Brian Newberry on the physicality of this game and what you have to do in practice.
You're playing stall. You're chasing things, making sure you're as prepared as you possibly can be, and you've got 2 weeks to get ready, which is great. But you got to be careful with that because you can get a little carried away in what you're doing. So the idea is for our kids to go play with as much confidence as they can on Saturday, so they can go play fast, they can go play fearless, and that they feel good about what they're doing. And so there's a fine line in there of wanting to carry enough into the game. Both teams are going to have some wrinkles, on both sides of the football, but what it comes down to is our ability to execute those things at a really, really high level.
All right, so that game is set for tomorrow at 2:00 Central Time. Any early leans? I know you said you have to watch it. You have to watch your words around people. I always like to bet the over/under in this one, and I always bet the over, and it always goes under. I feel like every single year it goes under.
So bet the under, because I want to see a good high-scoring game.
Yeah,
but I know it's probably going to be the under this year.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta say, I think Navy wins this game because I think Blake Horvath, just like last year, takes over. It's just hard to imagine. I believe this is going to be his final Army-Navy game, unless he has another year of eligibility, but I do believe that he is a senior. I would expect him to have a big game. I look forward to the jerseys that they wear. because
every year.
Every year they're just amazing.
Yeah, and whether it's the midshipmen or the Black Knights, they always do something really, really cool with it. And of course, these are the people that will be, as a part of our fighting corps, helping to defend the freedoms that we all love and enjoy all the time. So it is multi-pronged how much this game means to Americans overall, especially at these two service academies. Of course, the big story of this week has been the situation going on at Michigan. And this is also kind of multi-pronged there as well, because you have a football story, obviously, in one of the biggest programs and one of the most historic programs in the history of the sport. And now they need a new coach.
Right.
And at the same time, too, this unbelievable, ridiculous tragedy that seems to get dirtier and messier and stickier by the detail that comes out. The official charges have been released, and Sharon Moore is facing a felony charge and a couple of misdemeanor charges, including stalking. And so that issue is just, it'll play its way out in court. He is looking at jail time and everything else.
6 years, I think, is what I heard. He could potentially face. But as you mentioned, Michigan is going to need a new head coach now, and they've got to move forward. And I think I said this yesterday. You got to get away from guys that'll you just don't want to go to people that have been under regimes that have had scandals. And I mean, you look at the last two regimes, and Sharon Moore and Jim Harbaugh both have had scandals. And it's just, Michigan's got to clean its public image right now. But a name that I keep hearing for some reason is actually Jeff Monken, the head coach over there at Army. And the more and more I think about it, at first I was like, oh man, there's just no way Michigan's going to go for him. That just doesn't really make sense. But the more and more I do think about it, the Army style of football is a lot like what Michigan's style of football was when they won the national championship with Blake Corum. Just absolute ground and pound, just run the football. And that's exactly what that Army style, you win in the trenches, literally. And
being more
just,
physical.
Yes, just be more physical. I mean, the record isn't great, but again, he's working with a service academy here. We have to keep that in mind. So you can kind of throw the record away, except for last year and what he was able to do. 12-2. He didn't beat Navy, so that's the one thing you can hold against him in that regard. But it is an interesting name being thrown around for such a prestigious head coaching position.
And anytime I hear the name Monken, the very first thing, and this happened during the break, the very first thing I thought of was the offensive coordinator at Georgia, because you don't hear a lot of Monkens that often. That's not a common last name. I come from Mathangani, so I know about uncommon last names. But so I looked it up, and I was like, hey, Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator at Georgia. They're cousins, actually. First cousins, so Todd Monken and Jeff Monken. So that's your fact of the day. If you didn't know that, they're in the same profession.
And I wouldn't be shocked if Jeff Monken were to go.
Exactly.
To Michigan. Hey, hey, cuzzo, come on with me up to Ann Arbor. We're gonna rejuvenate this program, and we're gonna beat Ohio State.
That's exactly right. They're in talking physicality. That's the way they want to do it. And Monken obviously getting ready for this big matchup against their rival, and then the bowl game there after that. And he talked a little bit about that game prep before the Army-Navy game coming up tomorrow.
Just the emphasis that's placed on this game throughout the year. And certainly from a mental and emotional standpoint, that this game is thought about far more than just the days leading up to it, whatever prep time that is. This year, being 2 weeks, and last year being a week to prepare for the game. We've often had multiple weeks to get ready for the game, and there's certainly a huge emphasis during that time. It's all about trying to beat Navy. But throughout the year, whether it's in spring practice or our preseason camp, we dedicate time to these games. And our academy opponents are different. Defending them is different because they know us so well. Trying to have a game plan prepared on offense is different, and so it's an effort throughout the year.
So this is Interesting matchup there. Army versus Navy. We talked overall. I think I'm with you. I think Navy does win this football game. And it will be interesting for Monken if he does get that call from Michigan. And it's like you said, I think that Michigan needs to clear house, and this could be a good way to get it done.
We'll see. I mean, Michigan's got to act fast because that transfer portal is just around the corner. I would expect the Wolverines to have a head coach by the time the college football playoff kicks off.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we head over to the NFL. A really interesting game yesterday that went down to the wire. Didn't look like it was going to, but it absolutely did. 19 former SEC players were in action, and we will discuss it coming up next here. Falcons and Bucks on Southeast Sports Plus. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus. Yesterday, closing out the show, we talked about the NFL game to open up yet another big week on a Thursday night. Typically, these Thursday night games, sometimes they're kind of snooze fests, and that was the complete opposite yesterday. Of course, it was a divisional game between the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Crazy great, what's the word I'm looking for? Crazy great uniform game.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Both teams went back to the throwbacks. I'm kind of iffy on the
these. I'll stop it right here.
Yeah.
These are fire.
Yeah.
These cream uniforms by Tampa. These are just money.
Absolutely.
The Falcons ones, I kind of like them too.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of.
I'm the opposite. I love the Falcons unis, especially that red helmet. It reminds me of those Dion days, and I'm kind of like I like the creamsicle. It's not my favorite throwback uniform. If I'm ranking all the throwbacks, to me, obviously the Patriots with the helmet. That red one,
course,
the old Boston Patriots one.
There's no bias in there at all, everybody.
None, zero. Another one of my favorites is the Denver Broncos. The horse coming through the D.
Yeah.
I
like
that
knockoff
one.
Durham Bulls.
Yes.
The logo. Yeah.
There's a few that I'm just a huge fan of, but one of them is that Falcons uniform with that red helmet, and then about midway down the list, that creamsicle one. But they were in those uniforms and out there just straight balling.
Yeah, real quick before we get into the game, you remember the old color rush days?
Yeah,
a few years ago. Can we bring that back?
They need to.
Please?
They need to.
Those Seahawks neon green, like those were fire.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the game. We've been talking about a guy that you just never knew what you were going to get, because coming out of Florida, he was this highly touted tight end.
Yep.
And everyone thought the Falcons were going to be big-time contenders with him. And it just hasn't really worked out up until last night. Like, this was a guy that I think he was Mr. Irrelevant in my fantasy league this year.
Wow, he felt that bad.
I think I picked him up at Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I mean, I might as well. I mean, low floor, high ceiling,
right?
Like just one of those things. 116 reception yards, 3 touchdowns. This is his first game in the NFL with 100+ receiving yards and 2+ touchdowns.
That's insane.
Yes.
He's been in the league now, what, 3 years?
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
And it's been forever since the Falcons actually incorporated him in the pass game. I don't think they ever have before this.
No, they hadn't. And it hadn't found a way to really unlock him in a way that was frustrating, obviously, to a lot of fantasy owners, but also to those that followed him in college, because he looked like the prototypical guy that can come in and just really ball out.
Right.
But it looked like they were just misusing him a lot, asking him to block, and he's not really a blocking tight end anyways. He wasn't even that at Florida. What do you think it was going to be a blocking tight end in the NFL? And it didn't feel like you're utilizing his skill set, and he plays a dependent position, so he needs the quarterback to give him the football. And Kirk Cousins did early and often. You see the numbers: 11 catches, 166 receiving yards, and those 3 massive touchdowns for the Falcons.
11 of 12 targets. Though.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
That's something we just have not seen out of Kyle Pitts. But I will say this: you brought up the pass blocking and the run block, and there's a reason why Arthur Smith is not the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons anymore, because as Falcons fans might remember, he was the head coach when Pitts came into the league, and he was like, you know what? You're just so good at catching the ball. Like, you have these great receiver skills at Florida, and we're just not going to use them.
Yeah.
You're going to block until you get sick of it, and then you're going to go to another team. And it just made no sense to me whatsoever. Honestly, if they gave him the ball, Arthur Smith might still have a job with the Atlanta Falcons, but there's a reason why he's up with the Steelers, and Steelers fans can tell you how that's been going for them
the offense, outside of last week, that offense has been really frustrating. Very frustrating, and Arthur Smith has a lot to do with that. But, yeah, Kyle Pitts obviously put on a show yesterday, the former Florida Gator star. Back in the game, I always like when these guys give themselves the senior title whenever they do have a child. And so he is Kyle Pitts Senior, not to be mistaken for Kyle Pitts Jr., who is a toddler right now. But Kyle Pitts did talk about his 100+ yard game, 3 touchdowns, the best game since joining the National Football League.
I would say just Kirk trusting me, and me trying to win my ISOs. That was a big thing during the week. Coach Raheem and Kirk as well preached. So just being able to win my one-on-one and let the ball find me. I definitely thought I got that second foot down. I didn't know it was my cheek, but that helped a lot. And the tight end guys is like last year. I kind of got away with one last year, but the tight end guys, just the Lord, he let that be the third one, and they were the touchdown.
If you didn't see the play, he ended up getting one
I
butt
wish we
cheek
could show
down.
it.
Yeah, I know. We should show it too. But he ended up getting one butt cheek down, and I think it was John Madden or somebody used to say back in the day, a cheek equals 2 feet, and so he was able to get it down, get that touchdown to help the Falcons storm back to a victory. 29-28 was the final score. There, I don't think we ever mentioned the final, but yeah, they ended up winning that game.
Big fourth quarter comeback.
Huge.
They were down by 14.
Down 2 touchdowns.
Big touchdown, big interception, another touchdown, and it ended up coming out with a win. But the guy that led him there, good old Kirk Cousins. And we've talked for, it seems like, forever during this guy's career. And you can talk about his times, you like that over in Washington, and then up in Minneapolis with the Vikings, the Kirko chains, as they like to say, on the team plane. But the one thing that's really plagued him in his career is, he's going to do great in the 1 o'clock games.
Right.
But when you put him in prime time, he just freezes. And he did not freeze last night. So, I don't know what's going on at the age of 37. I mean, who knows? Kirk Cousins, it does make you wonder. I know he didn't have a great year last year in his year with the Falcons, and he eventually got benched for Michael Penix.
Yeah.
But Penix went down early towards the midway point of this year, and he wasn't really having a great year.
No, he wasn't. No.
And then Kirk comes in and just starts balling.
Yeah.
It just makes you wonder what would have happened if Kirk was starting this whole time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You wonder if it kind of, I want to say stunt his growth. I know he's been in the league for a very long time, but stunt his growth with this team, these weapons, because they have a good running game. Obviously, you saw Kyle Pitts go off with Bijan Robinson. Darnell Mooney, which I know he had the fumble yesterday, but he's had a strong start to his career as well. This is a Falcons team, at least on paper, that looks good.
Yeah.
And looks good enough to win that division. They're 5-9 right now. But speaking of looking good on paper, the team on the other sideline, they looked exactly like that. They have, as you mentioned yesterday, they had Bucky Irving was back. Mike Evans at the time he was training to come back. He ended up coming back for this team for the first time in 6, 7, 8 weeks or so. Emeka Mbuka, who's had an unbelievable rookie season. This is a team that got a 28-14 and managed to lose the football game in a must-have game, and now they're 7-7.
And this guy right here was not happy coming off the field. There's circulating video on social media of him being visibly frustrated. His head coach in his press conference yesterday was the most animated I think I've ever seen Todd Bowles.
No question.
You know, we talked about the 12th straight 1,000-plus receiving yard season on the line yesterday. It's not going to happen for Mike Evans. So Jerry Rice and him will have to share the record there.
Right.
But this is a team now that has gone from one of the best in the NFL.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield in the MVP considerations to 1-5 in their last 6 games, and it begs the question yet again. It feels like we have to have this talk every year ever since Bruce Arians stepped down. Is Todd Bowles going to get fired?
I just don't see how he can save his job. I know they have 3 games left in the season, 2 of them against Carolina. The first one on the road coming up next week, and then a Miami game that sandwiches the Carolina games. If they can win those 2 games, get into the playoffs, that might help him out. But he'll probably need to win a playoff game or 2 to do it. But this is trending to me a lot like it is trending in Pittsburgh right now with Mike Tomlin. And it just feels like a team that is a bit stuck in neutral, because even if they win out, they're 10-7, but a very uninspiring 10-7. And as you said, during the parts of the season where you needed to clinch wins to show that you're in the upper echelon, because like you said, they got off to a really nice start. They were all 5-1 to start the year. Detroit, they played them, lost. New England played them, lost. Buffalo played them, lost. The Rams played them, lost. And then, of course, they lost the divisional games against the Saints and the Falcons.
The Saints one is going to hurt.
Big time.
Hurt bad.
Big time.
I mean, the Saints are not good at all this year.
Right. And then earlier in the season, Philadelphia lost. The thing in common that those 5 teams have in common right now, those are the playoff teams.
Yeah.
Those are all playoff teams in both conferences. And now seeing how you stack up, you don't stack up great against the playoff teams, and you don't stack up well against the teams that are not going to the playoffs. The Saints are one of them.
I mean, it's not a great combination to have at this time of the year. It does remind me of the Eagles team, which ironically is going through the same thing now. It reminds me of the 2023 Eagles team when it seemed like they had the division locked up and then just inexcusably dropped so many games down the stretch and then ended up losing, ironically, again to the Buccaneers in the wild card round.
Yep.
But, you know, when we talk about potential candidates that Tampa Bay could go after here, you look around the league and it almost feels like you're a year too late on this.
Yes, yeah.
Because, you know, could we see another chance for Josh McDaniels to have a head coach?
Oh, wow.
Position?
That would.
I mean, look what he did with Drake May. But is it him?
Yeah.
Or is it Mike Vrabel? Or is it the fact that he's in Foxborough? Because this has been a thing for Josh McDaniels. He's such a good offensive coordinator for the Patriots. And then whenever he parlays it into a head coaching opportunity,
it fails miserably. Almost seemingly every single time it fails miserably for Josh McDaniels. We would play you some sound from Todd Bowles.
No, we cannot do it.
However, we can't do it because we don't have enough beat buttons. Because he was in a tirade, as you mentioned, very unlike Todd Bowles.
That'd be millions of dollars right there.
Exactly. But we did get a chance to hear from Baker Mayfield, a little more measured response after a heartbreaking loss.
Disappointing, obviously, but falls on my shoulders. Can't turn the ball over. Can't have that interception. And then just gotta hit Mech in stride on that third down. Listen, you can say what you want about being up 2 scores and the defense right there, but we have to be better on offense, and it comes down to how I play. And this one's going to haunt me. This falls on my shoulders. Obviously, Mike played really well, but I think not only him but J-Mac as well. They both brought energy. Yeah, it was good to see that, but it comes down to me executing.
You heard a lot of execution. You also heard a lot of, like, how much do you want it? It's almost effort. And that, I think, if you're a fan, that's where the concern is. If you're just not good enough, like the Tennessee Titans, they're just not good enough. The roster's not good enough. That's one thing. Effort is another thing. And caring and, having that motivation is another thing. And it looks like this team is running backwards.
Well, it's just like, where do you go at this point? Because
right.
I think when they were, I don't remember exactly what their record was, but earlier in the season they had a 92% chance of making the playoffs.
Right.
And it's like, where do you go at this point? I think it's all the way down to 50%, and no one thought it was going to come down to the Bucs or the Panthers.
Right.
I think everyone was like, yeah, the Panthers, they're a good story. They're on the come up. Last year was maybe the coming out year for Bryce Young, but then it was like, okay, now there's going to be some growth here with Bryce Young. And then what is going on in Tampa? Like, this is a real possibility that we might actually get to see Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle, who unfortunately for me, it's you don't really want to bring that up, being a former Cowboy or being a Cowboys fan and him being a former Cowboy.
Right.
It's just, where do you go at this point?
And a lot of questions there to be answered for the Bucs. A lot of soul searching for this team. Meanwhile, Bijan Robinson and company end up getting the win. Before Bijan was balling out with the Atlanta Falcons, he was in Austin, Texas with the Texas Longhorns. That's exactly where we head next here in Southeast Sports Plus with our friend Noah Gross. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus, our Friday show here, second hour. We roll in right to Austin, Texas, and catch up with Noah Gross. And Noah, I know it's a really interesting time of year as we do that blend between football season and basketball season. A lot of basketball to really be excited about, especially this upcoming matchup. It's a crazy Friday night game as Texas now hits the court to play a UConn team that is just surging right now, and now back-to-back SEC opponents there for the Huskies.
Yeah, last time I was on with you guys, we talked about the Texas men's team, and I was trying to be professional about my doubts about them. And then in one particular player, Tremont Mark, who's I said is inconsistent. He'll have some great games and he'll have some not so good games. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, last press conference for Sean Miller, he's like, we got to get more out of Tremont Mark. Yeah. So and I'm sitting there, I don't know if my camera was on, but my audio certainly wasn't. And I'm like, preach, Sean. You certainly do have to get more out of Tremont Mark. So tonight is a big game, and sometimes he'll show up for these big games. So I think Texas is obviously going to get rocked by Connecticut. That's probably not saying a lot. They might, first game of the year, new head coach and everything, Texas played essentially a road game in Charlotte against Duke, and it was single-digit game at the half, and then it was just not competitive in the second half. So I kind of envision that's how things would go for this Texas team. They have some physicality, some athleticism, like the size to compete, but they just don't have the install that Sean Miller wants at this point. Although when he was at Xavier, he played against them often and kept it close in those Big East matchups. So he has some experience, but I just don't think this Texas team is anywhere close to where the Huskies are right now.
How can this Texas team – we talked about the UConn the other day when they played Florida, and that was another really good game. How can this Texas team slow down the play of guard solo ball? Because I feel like he's been a big key piece for UConn this year.
Yeah, they need to rely on some of their good guard defenders, which is Kendall Weaver, a guy that when he came in a couple years ago, he was lauded as like the energy guy. He was like a sixth man and earned a starting role. And he was so great in that 2023-2024 squad that maybe could have made the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. And then last year had to fight through so many injuries, came in late in the season and really helped them in the SEC tournament. But now that he's healthy again, he needs to be that guy that can lock down an opposing star guard, because one of their other scoring guards, Jordan Pope, is an offensive guy through and through, and he's not going to be able to stop one of the best guards in the country. So it has to be Kendall Weaver, but at some point, this is somebody you need on the offensive end as well. When I'm at practice, I'm seeing him shoot threes, and I'm like, this guy is so confident from distance, but when it's in a game, it's a different animal. And you kind of think you think of it in an NBA context, and you're like, some of the stars don't play that hard defense, and as a fan, you're like, please try defensively, but you think about it and it's, well, you have to do so much offensively. You're expending so much energy, so maybe somebody can help out on the defensive end. And for Kendall Weaver, it's like you're expending so much energy defensively. I don't know if you're able to bring it on the offensive side. So for him, it's kind of that balance.
Absolutely. From an offensive game planning standpoint, what are some of the ways that you see this team being able to find success in this game and beyond? I mean, we've seen this team, score over 100, this Texas team, but then also at the same time too, we've seen some lower scoring games there as well. Just from a production standpoint, where do you think Sean Miller wants to see this team as they get closer and closer to SEC play?
Well, he in his press conference this week talked about effort and intensity, which is like coach speak for sure, but he was calling them out a little bit too. It was more than normal. So I think that's part of it, but also figuring out what this team is. Sean Miller's coming in, everyone's saying this team's going to be very successful in transition, which I think they have potential. That's a great picture right there. That was a heck of a hairdo from that guy in Florida. But yeah, I think they have potential to be good in transition, but their half-court offense stagnates so hard sometimes. And we've talked about it before, it's a roster that makes more sense than last year, but they don't have that person that's go-to offensively. This is your person when you need a bucket kind of guy. They, again, think it would be Tremont Mark, but it's not. So I think they need to have more consistency in the half-court offense, because they've just been one of those teams that's gone through major lulls for extended periods this season.
Do you think that we could see Texas kind of rely on Vokatitis at all tonight?
Yeah, I've been a big fan of him. He's either coming off of a huge 20-point performance, or that was 2 games ago. He's been playing better, and he gets more confident and comfortable because, he was at FAU before. They played some big games, but as consistently as Texas is playing in big games, especially once they get to SEC play, it's going to be a bit different. So like the shock of being here is probably worn off a little bit, and he seemed to settle in and kind of figure some things out. So yeah, he's a guy that I think has exceeded expectations so far, and they were pretty high for him. They've thrown a lot on his shoulders, especially because some of the guys behind him were hurt early in the season. So yeah, I think, first of all, great pronunciation, Patrick. Wasn't sure if you'd be able to nail Voikatitis.
Well, see, I've heard you
yes.
and Roger say it so many times now that it's just, just ingrained in my mind.
Roger and I actually went with Levon as well. We went to Topgolf this morning, and Roger pulled out a modest Voikatitis reference at Topgolf, and I'm like, you don't need to flex.
Wait. All right. We need to know about the golf game.
We need to know about the golf game. We got to know how that went.
Okay, if we went in like a full round, Roger would obliterate Levon and me. And Levon was a morale guy. I'll be honest. He was not.
He was glue guy.
Certainly a glue guy. Crushed some buffalo wings. Had some fun eating, but not. His golf game needs some work. I have a baseball swing and certainly won a competition in my head of long drive contest that I was just trying to rip it. And but Roger's overall much better, much more accurate, much better golfer.
Does he play a lot?
Does he get out there?
A decent amount. He has like the thing that we all dream of, like I don't even play golf and I dream of it. Like him and 3 other friends do like a rotating golf trip every year where they go around the country and everything. So that's his main time. I think he plays probably like 4 rounds a year, maybe something like that.
Oh wow! So he's naturally talented.
Yeah, he's just got God-given ability,
Yeah.
He's got to get coached up a little better.
Just rolls out and comes up with big wins there. That's awesome. Yeah. So, Texas on the court doing really well. Now Texas on the football field. I found it really interesting with all these teams that are saying no to bowl games, or there are a lot of teams that are even 5-7 saying no to bowl games. Texas is like, hey, we want a bowl game, we want to play, even though next year's team will look a lot different. And they're playing a Michigan team that, my goodness, this was a really interesting matchup about a week ago. And now it's one of the craziest stories in the entire sport there. How does Texas even game plan for this, given how much turbulence there is with that program there in Ann Arbor?
I think it's just getting the backup guys who are stepping in game ready and just like taking reps with the first team and things like that. Texas had a pretty good amount of people enter the transfer portal. Yeah. Nobody I'm terribly surprised by, though. And I don't think it's like they've been key contributors, offensive lineman, defensive back Derek Williams, running back CJ Baxter, but those have all made sense to me. And I think not that they're like expendable means I feel like has a connotation of like Texas doesn't need them, they have no value, but Texas can probably live without them heading into the future. So none of those I've been surprised by, but this Texas team I think is a little ticked off about the CFP and not making it in, but also it's kind of one of those things where you're playing your best football at the end of the year and you don't want the season to end because you're starting to peak right when it matters most. So they probably were like excited, like, all right, Michigan, another good team. Let's get into a bowl game, especially because they're probably going to have their quarterback back for next season as well. So, I mean, Bill Poggi's been a head coach before. He's also filled in at Michigan before. So I think that they can't change anything now. It's just if some mass exodus happens in the next 2 weeks for Michigan and players start leaving, Bryce Underwood's hitting the portal or whatever, then you start changing things. But for now, for Texas, it's largely the same.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, and I'll ask what your thoughts are on the college football playoff here field here in a minute. But do you expect Bryce Underwood to play in this game? Because a lot was made about him removing everything from Michigan from all of his social media over the past few days.
Yeah, I mean, he's 18 or 19, I'm not on Instagram anymore, but I probably did some stuff like that. Not that I was an athlete, but like one girl didn't respond to me, and I was like, wow, So, that was it's not the end of the world for him right there. But I would expect him to play in this game if he plans to come back for this Michigan team. And all signs are this is a confident group that thinks they can get a pretty big head coach. So I would expect him to play in the game, and athletes will often do the unfollow stuff. I would not read too much into that, especially at the college level.
Right. Yeah, we've seen a lot of the unfollow or scrub the social media just to come back on.
We are so deep into the off season, and it's not even the off season that we've got people talking about Kalen DeBoer's daughter following Michigan.
Right, on the Michigan softball account. Speaking of this Michigan deal, now that we've had 48 hours since all of this has come out, what have been your overall thoughts? And now Michigan looking for a new head coach. What are some of the names that percolate in your head as you think about where the Wolverines go from here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad story overall.
For sure.
I think the personal side of it, as details continue to come out, it's just unfortunate how things have transpired at Michigan and the way that's going to be for the football program. People are like, as far as who Michigan could hire, people are like, nothing would surprise me anymore if DeBoer goes and then Kiffin goes to Bama. I mean, I don't understand like the legality of the Kiffin situation, but he can't. He cannot be at 3 SEC schools in like 45 days. That would be unbelievable. So I think they would have to go outside of the normal spots, right? Because think about Penn State, who's comparable in a sense in the fact that it's like a traditional power in the Big Ten, one of the, probably with Penn State, like 15 best jobs. Michigan's probably one of the 5-10 best jobs in the country. But Penn State took a long time, and they were striking out with a lot of people, and a lot of people they were trying to get that didn't want to go to Penn State, I don't think would go to Michigan as well. So could they go to the NFL ranks, like an NFL coordinator, somebody with Michigan ties as well? I think that might be where they're going to go. Will they try to get something for DeBoer, like go big fish hunting? Sure. But I see them kind of going outside the box and maybe going to an NFL hire, somebody that was most recently in the NFL, because this late, I think it is tough to find somebody from college.
I'm going to throw a name out there, and I want to see what you feel about this, because this is one
Mike Loxley.
No, not Mike Loxley. Absolutely not. Get Maryland out of here.
And that's what Noah's wanting.
Michigan, you will love him. All right, no scandals.
No scandals. Rid yourself, clean the image. But here it is. Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fun one. I have no issue with that one. I don't know. Was there any rumors that Penn State went after him? I don't think I heard anything on that front.
I would just love to see what Deion could do with money that can actually back a program.
For sure. I mean, and some of these people some of these Michigan fans that are just like Bert Signetti or some of these people. It's not going to happen, man.
No, it's not happening.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
Hang up the phone. So, yeah, Deion, that one makes a lot of sense to me because things at Colorado, he's still, doing well for Colorado's level, but they've stagnated in a sense. So, yeah, I mean, players want to play for him. And in today's age when money matters most, I mean, there was the reports of like when Saban left and everyone hit the portal at Bama, it's like, yeah, they were all getting paid, but they were willing to play for less with Nick Saban because it's Nick Saban. No, Deion Sanders does not have the same coaching aura maybe that Nick Saban did, but players want to play for Deion, and they would be willing, I think, to play a lot of them for less than another coach because it's getting coached by such a legend like that and somebody that can build your brand. Everybody's going to want to have their eye on that. So I think that would be a decent financial choice for Michigan as well.
Absolutely. 1 week from now, the college football playoff will begin. Your thoughts overall on the CFP and now that the teams that we talked about last week, Oklahoma is in, North Texas thankfully is not, Texas A&M's in, a lot of Texas rivals are in this field. What are your thoughts as the playoffs get started a week from today?
Yeah, I've been a big mouthpiece for the committee so far, and I'm not getting paid by them, but if they do want to pay me, I don't know if it's actually legal. I have to talk to HR here, but willing to accept funds for sure. Yeah, I think the committee got it right for sure. Notre Dame, I think, does not. I mean, when I was looking at it beforehand, before I dove deep, I'm like, Miami Miami deserves to be in, because I watched them a couple games this year, and I'm like, they stink. And then I actually stacked up their resume against Notre Dame, and I'm like, oh, that's extremely similar, and they beat Notre Dame, so it makes total sense to me. And the committee's rationale of how they even it out, where they're like, well, BYU was above them until they lost, and that actually made sense to me, which I don't know if that means I'm nuts. So I'm a fan of the teams that got in, and I will say my pick, maybe in early November, late October, was Indiana to win it all, and I still maintain that. I think that team is so talented, and when they went to South Bend, I think for the first game last year, and they just didn't look like they were ready for that moment. I think that shock of being in this stage is gone for, it's probably even there for was even there for Signetti last year. It was
Right.
his first time taking a team to that stage, and they just dismantled every Big Ten team this year, with the exception of Ohio State and Penn State, which were close. I mean, so yeah, I think Indiana's so talented. They're my pick to win it all.
Nice,
Fair.
nice. I
Very
like
fair.
it. I like it. This is a final thing before we let you go. This might be a one-word answer. Can your Maryland Terrapins pull out the shocker and knock off what Patrick thinks is the number one team in the country? I'm right there with them.
They have to.
Destroying people, like destroying teams. The Michigan Wolverines.
No, and I'm interested what the line is tomorrow. Whatever it is,
I don't
Michigan,
think it's come out yet.
Yeah.
I mean, Maryland, anytime they played a decent team this year, has looked so unbelievably bad. Like, they're not even playing the same sport. You couldn't even call it basketball. So
They fell off that far after Derek Queen?
It's Derek Queen, by the way, unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be so bad. I'm actually going to be in the state of Maryland tomorrow. I was telling my friend, I'm like, maybe we should go. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I don't want to watch that.
See, I was thinking the same thing over Thanksgiving. I was in the state of New York, and I had the option to go to the Boston College-Syracuse football game. And I was like, that game is gonna set football back 50 years. And I think tickets were $2.
Yeah, they're like paying you to go to the game.
Please come.
Michigan, as of right now, according to DraftKings, Michigan is a 19.5-point underdog.
Underdog?
Yeah. I'm sorry, they're a favorite. They're a favorite.
Oh.
Yeah. Maryland is a 19.5-point underdog. But what I was thinking was that has to be probably the largest home dog Maryland's ever been.
I know. I mean, against a conference opponent, it's not even. I mean, Maryland stinks, but that just shows you how good Michigan is. I mean, they're destroying everybody.
Absolutely. Noah, you're awesome, brother. Certainly appreciate it. Safe travels as you go back home. We can't wait to hook up with you a little bit later on down the road.
All right, you guys have a good weekend. Go Terps. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Noah Gross joins us there from Austin and getting ready for the holidays there as well. So can't wait for that. And we got some good stuff here to close out a Friday.
Yes, we got our typical predictions, except it's not football, it's basketball. We're officially making that transition.
Love it. We'll see you there after the break for that. Closing up Southeast Sports Plus here on this Friday. A great week of college basketball. And as Patrick pointed out, a lot of games at neutral sites here. Starting tomorrow with a big game as two teams in the top 20 hook up there, Arkansas and Texas Tech.
Yeah, and two teams in the top 20 at 11 a.m. We talk about sleepy 11 a.m. kickoffs. It's going to be a sleepy 11 a.m. tip over there in Dallas. And then moving it along, noon central, it's Bedlam in Oklahoma City. Cincinnati taking on Georgia in Atlanta, and then George Washington, the Revolutionaries, are going to face the number 18 Florida Gators in Sunrise. And then keeping it moving here, Southern Miss is a away team against Ole Miss in Biloxi, which is closer to Southern Miss than it is Ole Miss. So a little bit interesting there. Chattanooga is facing number 21 Auburn in Atlanta. Central Arkansas is going to face Vanderbilt, as we talked with Julian Minninson, and in the first hour. And then the Citadel is going to face South Carolina. And then wrapping it up here for games tomorrow, Indiana, Kentucky, two traditional blue blood programs that are just having interesting years this year. So that should be a fun one. SMU facing LSU in New Orleans. The big one tomorrow, number 1 Arizona facing Alabama in Birmingham. And then Mississippi State facing Utah in Salt Lake City. So
It'll be a lot of fun games.
Yes, we're starting to get to that point of the year. I know SEC play is just under a month away, but these are the great matchups that are coming our way. And as we usually do at this time at 3:57 on a Friday, it's time to make our predictions.
I love it. I'll start first here with this first matchup.
Arkansas, Texas Tech.
Razor thin margin. 1.5 is the number that I saw.
1.5.
Texas Tech is a favorite in that one. As much as I like Arkansas the way they're playing right now, Texas Tech, I saw them in football just pack out the Jerry World.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of red in that one. Give me Texas Tech.
You know, I didn't listen to Courtney a few weeks ago, and Arkansas beat Louisville.
Yep.
I am listening to her this time. Courtney, you're probably not watching right now, and honestly, I would be shocked if you were watching, but I'm going to listen to you this time. Woo Big Suey. Arkansas is winning against Texas Tech, a big one for Coach Cal.
Clip that just in case she does.
I will clip that
just in case they do get the
Bedlam.
win. Bedlam, the first Oklahoma team to lose in the Thunder's building because they haven't lost all season long.
Since game 1 of the NBA Finals.
That's exactly right. I'm going with the Oklahoma Sooners in this one to get the win. The Cowboys will be the first team to lose there at home.
No, I got the Cowboys in this one, unfortunately. I just don't see the consistency with Porter Moser's squad so far this year. I would like to be proven wrong, but nothing has told me yet because there was the big game against Wake Forest, and then they followed up with the dud against Arizona State.
Yeah. Next up is Cincinnati at Georgia. As of right now, Georgia's an 8-point favorite.
This one's interesting. I'm actually going to go Cincinnati here.
Okay.
Because, Georgia had a really big win over, I believe it was Florida State in the ACC-SEC Challenge. I just like Cincinnati coming out of a traditionally big-time basketball conference in the Big 12. And Georgia just, they're still trying to find their footing here early in the season.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Georgia fan historically, but I like them this season. I like them in this game to pull it off. 2 Blue Bloods, Indiana, the Hoosiers against the Wildcats.
Give me Kentucky by 1 billion.
Yeah, Kentucky, this is a get-back game for them. They have to have it. Colby Wilson said it earlier this week. This is a team that is reeling. Give me Kentucky there as well.
Get DeVries out of there. He's a fraud. He can't win the big games. And then the big game on the bottom, number 1 Arizona taking on number 12 Alabama.
That game is in Birmingham at the BJCC. I see 30-plus three-pointers attempted by Alabama. I think they make a lot of them. Give me Nate Oates and company to upset the number 1 team in the country.
Roll Tide, and Michigan is going to be the number 1 team in the country when it